Okay, hello and welcome. Chris here, T Titan, and in the previous video I gave you an introduction to how we approach the topic of finding good niches. And what I'm going to do in this video is expand on that in a little bit more detail and show you some of the ways that we can find good niches, some of the sites we can search to see if a niche is probably going to be a good one. Once again, a niche is a topic, it's a group of people, and really I think the best way to think of a niche is think of a keyword that describes it. So a pit bull would be people who own pit bull dogs, firefighter would be people who either whose profession is firefighter or possibly even people who are related to firefighters. Violin is people who own violins or play the violin. So it should really be a word that can sum up that particular niche, and the benefit there is we can search it on all of these sites that I'm about to run through. So think in terms of keywords when we think in terms of finding niches. So the first thing to do is to look at the list of categories in the previous video. So I provided a list of categories that was, I think, like professions, owners, and various other kind of broad categories of common niches. We'll have a look at that and think of professions, sports teams, things that people own, hobbies, all of those things that are kind of around you, either professions you've had, professions of people that you know, professions of people that you've seen on TV, professions of people that you think might have money, sports teams that are in your local area, sports teams your friends are into, hobbies you're into, hobbies that your friends are into, and really just start to write down a big long list of every possible combination. It doesn't need to be overthought. You don't need to be really sort of restrictive and anything like that at this stage. The idea is just to build a long list, and then later on we'll quickly start to get rid of the bad apples very easily. Another great place to brainstorm is Amazon, or indeed any place that sells products. If you're in your local newsagent next time, look at the magazines that are there. If you're in a department store rather, start to look at products that are for sale. But Amazon in particular is obviously something that anyone can go to, and Amazon sells all kinds of products. And generally, if there are books or clothes or DVDs or products of some kind that are selling to a particular group of people, that when you put a particular keyword in on Amazon, you get loads and loads of matches. That's generally a good sign. There are buyers in that niche. It's a good niche. So I suppose the two starting points are think of your own personal experiences, and secondly, go over to Amazon and any other place where there are products being sold and start to dig around. The next thing really that's in my mind probably the most obvious is to look at my list of niches. As part of the T-Titan front end, I've provided this list of proven niches, and these are niches that I've tested myself, very often niches that I've sold in and made money from, or at the very least niches that I've seen other people make money from and that are on my to-do list of, I'm going to come back to this, I know that there's money here, let me return to it later. So I'm literally giving you this list of niches. So there's a lot of different niche markets, a lot of topics that you can go into there. So what I suggest is go through and pick out the ones that jump out at you as the most interesting. Now they're all good niches, but there'll be some that interest you and there'll be some that don't, and probably it's going to be best if you focus on ones that do interest you personally initially. So once you've done these things, you've had a quick think, you've written down some various different words for niche ideas. You've looked at Amazon, you've maybe gone out to the shops, looked at some magazines, been to a department store, looked at some of the products for sale, and you spent maybe a few hours, maybe even a few days, just thinking of different niches that could be out there. And at this point, you should certainly have a list of between 10 and 100 words to search on Facebook. And if you remember, I said that a vital step was that we have to be able to advertise to people on Facebook, so that when we search on Facebook ads, for our keyword, it has to generate a match. There have to be interests that relate to that particular niche. Because if we can't reach people on Facebook, we can't advertise to them, we can't get traffic from Facebook to Teespring, and so if we've got no traffic, we've got no sales. So we want to see results on Facebook, but then the next thing to do is to look and see if there are t-shirts for sale as well in that niche. And that's something that always interests me. If I see lots and lots of t-shirts for sale in a particular niche, then I know that there's probably going to be people buying those t-shirts, and so we can probably make money from selling to those same people as well on Facebook. So the first thing is to look at sales on Teespring, and I think the easiest place to do this is a site called TView. So just Google TView, and it basically is a competitive intelligence site that that lists a lot of the top selling a lot of the top selling t-shirts on Teespring. It doesn't have all of them, but it has quite a few of them. So if you go over to TView and you put in firefighter and arrange by best selling and see that, you know, there's 50 t-shirts that have sold more than 100 sales within the firefighter niche, and then you go over and put in violin and you see that there's only one t-shirt that's sold anything and it's only sold two, well, very, very generally you can think, okay, well, I know that firefighter is probably a better niche than violins is, for example. So it's just a good place to go and quickly check and see if other people have discovered the niche and if other people are able to generate sales with it. You can also search our T-Searcher software and, you know, put some keywords in there, violin, firefighter, whatever words you want to put in, and see which ones get results, which ones load up results, which ones have got t-shirts already selling, which ones don't. And again, it's not an absolute rule, but if you see lots and lots of t-shirts that appear on T-Searcher and you don't see any for another keyword, well, you know that that first keyword's probably the one that you should be focusing on. And yeah, basically what we want is we want t-shirts to be available, but ideally we don't want too many t-shirts to be on Teespring. And the reason for this is if there's loads and loads of t-shirts selling on Teespring, then the problem is a lot of other Teespring marketers are going to be able to see that, and so there's going to be increased competition. So ideally what the kind of sweet spot is that there's lots of t-shirts selling on non-Teespring sites like eBay, Amazon, Redbubble, Zazzle, things like that, but there's not too many t-shirts selling on Teespring. And I've kind of represented this in probably one of the ugliest graphs that I've ever seen. You know, my specialty unfortunately is traffic generation, Teespring and Facebook. It's not so much making pretty graphs, and so I almost didn't include this, but it's I think a very important graph, and so I have included it. And it's basically risk versus reward. Just to explain what's going on here is I've kind of listed 4 different possible results that you can find when you start to do your niche research. This first one is, so you can see we've got potential profit and chance of success. So this is this is how much we can make, and this is the chance that our campaign will be successful. Firstly, if you put the keyword into Teespring, i.e. into TView, and you see loads and loads of results, then that's what we've got here, results on Teespring. And you can see that we've got a good chance of success in actual fact, but the problem is because the designs have already been played out, because everyone's in that niche, we're probably not going to make that much money because the competition's too high. So that's if we see lots of t-shirts for sale on Teespring. On the other extreme, we've got no products whatsoever. So, you know, not only are there no t-shirts for sale on Teespring or indeed anywhere else, but even when we go to Amazon and we put our keyword in, nothing comes up. So there just appear to be like almost no t-shirts, products of any kind for sale to this market on the internet. And these are kind of like the wild cards where there's a very high risk but also a very high reward. So there's only like a 5% chance of success, but if the campaign does take off, then we'll be like, you know, the only ones to clean up, and by the time anyone else even sees that there's a niche there, we will have already sold like 2,000 t-shirts. So, you know, those are like the two extremes. And what I like to do generally is I like to sort of play around in the middle. And specifically what I found works really well is to find niches where there's not that many, maybe there's 1 or 2, if that, kind of t-shirts results on Teespring, but there are results on other sites. So you'll go to Teespring or TView and you'll type the keyword in, you might get 1 or 2 matches, you know, nothing really there. Then you'll go over to eBay or Amazon or Redbubble or Zazzle and you put the keyword in there and there'll be like 10 matches on eBay, 15 on Amazon, 8 on Redbubble, 3 on Zazzle, and you'll see that there is a niche there. There are people buying t-shirts. It's just that there don't seem to be that many t-shirts for sale on Teespring, and those are the really, really good niches. And in those niches you have a good high potential profit, but also a good high chance of success. Okay, so when you see not that many or only a handful of t-shirts for sale on Teespring for a particular keyword, but you do find matches on several other t-shirt sites. That for me is the best combination of risk and reward, and that's really what our T-Searcher software is about. You can also be in a situation sometimes where there are products for sale, maybe on Amazon or eBay, etc., but they're not t-shirt site. They're not t-shirts. So, for example, there might be stickers, there might be equipment, there might be books, there might be, people in the niche are buying things that relate to that particular topic, but they're just not buying t-shirts. And you can also target those. So this is kind of the spectrum. This is my favorite one, which is results where niches where you see lots and lots of t-shirts for sale on sites other than Teespring, but not that many on Teespring. This is my favorite, and then I'll kind of have a mixture of the other three. But the reason I kind of did this graph is partly to show that that's my favorite, and also to show that pretty much everyone I think just does this. They'll just look on Teespring, see what's selling, copy the same designs as everyone else, go into the same niches as everyone else. But the problem with that is there's not a huge potential profit because everyone's doing it. And chances are if it's sold for someone else, you'll probably sell 1, 2, 5, 10 maybe. But someone else will have already rinsed out the market. Other people are advertising to the same interests. The niche is a bit exhausted, and people are, a bit tired of buying t-shirts in that market. This here tends to be the sweet spot. And you can also look at maybe, some of these two, or even Teespring occasionally, but I try and center yourself around here. So if you've got low risk, low reward, and high risk, high reward, you kind of want a mixture. This is something that I know isn't particularly intuitive, so if you need to pause the video or go back and re-watch this section, please do so. It's something that I'll return to later on anyway. So where do we search for good niches? Well, I've already touched on this. The first step is that we need to enter our keyword into Facebook ads. So put firefighter in there, put violin, put piano player, start to put variations in, and ensure that we get at least a handful of interests that give us sort of between 100,000 to a million audience size. If we don't have that, we cannot proceed. So it's vital that we can advertise to people within our niche on Facebook ads, and ideally it needs to be within that sweet spot of between 100,000 and a million people. And again, this is something that I will go through in a later video, but I'll keep on droning on about it in the meantime. T-Searcher software, I've done a separate video on this, but it basically searches several sites at once, so it's a great way to kind of get a quick overview of this here, which is not so much results on Teespring but results on other sites, which is the main way I think that we'll make good money here. Teespring itself is good. I've touched on this in the previous video, of course, on the previous slide rather. It's good to search our keyword and see that there are people who are generating sales, but at the same time, if you see lots of t-shirts that have got more than 100 sales, be a bit wary, because even though the niche is quite clearly proven, what it means is that everyone and their mama is going to be going into that niche and trying to do the same thing as yourself. eBay and Amazon are two great places to look, and the search there is just to do keyword t-shirt, so firefighter t-shirt, violin t-shirt. And the cool thing about these two sites as well, unlike a lot of other t-shirt sites, is that in both cases they will display the amount of sales. So in the case of eBay, it'll say like 8 sold of 50, and you can see that, okay, that t-shirt sold 8, let me look at the next one. Oh, another firefighter one that sold 6. Oh, another firefighter one that sold 9. Another one sold 3, another one sold 2. Okay, this is definitely a good niche. And in the case of Amazon, it'll display a sales rank, which is for the category, so it'll be like 3,800 in clothing and accessories or something like that. So with both of those, you can pretty much get a feel for kind of what's selling. So those are two really good sites to look at, and those are two of my favorite sites, alongside T-Searcher and Facebook ads. Those are three of the kind of core things that core places I'll look at. So the basic idea is you want to search Facebook ads and see if our keyword comes up. Search t-shirt and shopping sites and see if people are selling t-shirts or at least products in our niche. I also like to search Google images and have a Google image search open as well, which I'll come on to in the next slide. But the basic idea is to find several t-shirts selling in a niche. And if we see that and we know that we can reach them on Facebook ads, it's probably a good niche. So other places to look for good niches and look to see if there are t-shirts selling. other t-shirt sites, Redbubble, Sunfrog, Zazzle, Spreadshirt, Etsy. Just go to those sites and again just put our keyword in, firefighter, violin, whatever the keyword is. Pinterest is also a great one. You know, there are tons and tons of ideas on Pinterest. There aren't even t-shirts as such that are just like slogans or memes or catchy phrases or quotes that people like, and we can very often reappropriate those and use those in our in our designs basically. So Pinterest is a really cool site to look at. Um, Unlike eBay and Amazon, we can't see sales on any of these sites on Redbubble, Sunfrog, Zazzle, Spreadshirt, Etsy. In some cases, we can see some kind of metrics. So I think in Etsy's case, it might be ads. In the case of Pinterest, we can of course see how many people have pinned it. But at least if we see t-shirts for sale on some of these sites, it at least suggests some kind of demand. It suggests supply and that suggests demand basically. Now occasionally, I've talked a lot in this video about where to look for t-shirts for sale. Sometimes we can actually target niches with no t-shirts selling at all, but we at least want to see some products. So again, even if there aren't t-shirts for sale, we at least want to see that people are spending money in the niche. Or at the very, very least, even if you're convinced a niche is hot, you don't see any t-shirts, you don't see any products, at the very least, if you're that convinced and you want to go ahead and try it anyway, then at least we want to see memes to base ideas off. And a meme is basically just like, you probably will have seen them, it's kind of like a funny image with some text attached to it. So it'll be like a picture of like a dog or something with some text above it. You'll see them shared a lot on Facebook. But the way to find these is to go to Google Images and basically on Google Images put in our keywords plus meme, funny quote. So firefighter meme, firefighter funny, firefighter quote, firefighter t-shirt, firefighter sticker. And look for ideas. So even if we're not seeing lots and lots of t-shirts, we at least want to see that people are sharing these pictures, these memes online, because that's going to give us ideas that we can then look and see what's being shared, see what's out there on the general internet, and then maybe turn those, or at least tweak them slightly and turn them into t-shirts. So at the very, very least, even if we don't see t-shirts and we don't see products being sold, at least we need t-shirt ideas or some kind of slogans being distributed, being shared online. And the way to find those is Google Images. Just go over to Google, click on Images, and then search our keyword plus these particular phrases. So hopefully in this video I've given you some some ideas of places you can take that niche keyword, drop it into Google, drop it into Facebook ads, drop it into T-Searcher and all these different places, see how many results come up, and then basically start to work out where all the action is and which are the best niches to start looking at. Over the course of the next few videos I'll expand on this and then I'll give you a demonstration of how we can pull all this together and actually make it happen and start to actually find the best niches. So that'll come up in a moment, but thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.